Hey all, so I've been playing the Alice Invasion Hardcore Trade League, and so far I've actually already ripped a character. It was an Explosive Arrow Scion at the very start. I ripped it at level 75 because I just completely zoned out on the Curse Crit boss and decided to curse him and stand right up to him. So that was fun, but I decided to go a new build that was a little bit less popular, I guess, and it was one of the builds that had a lot more HP and a lot more tankiness, with this setup at least. So this is just really gonna be a quick video to go over some of the gear that I'm using and also like trying to progress my Alice setup and how I'm gonna essentially use that to gear and kind of some of the problems and pros to this build, I guess. So one of the things that I started off with is the wand. I really wanted to get damage as soon as possible here. I found this, just bought it, and I crafted damage over time. There's not really a way I could craft cold damage or anything like that. Realistically, I could divine this, but it was kind of a nice find, especially early on in this league. I had to craft a hubris circlet just using essences, and I'd prefer to have a little bit more ES, so maybe instead of hybrid I get like flat or something, and maybe some more res on it. Ideally, progressing, I can get a nearby enemies have minus cold res one or a reservation efficiency one, which could be really helpful to free up more mana in my mana pool. As far as the shield goes, I really just want a life on block and a bunch of defensive stats on it. There's not really much else I would get here. I could get percent life as well. And I'm planning on taking percent ES block on the tree, depending on whether or not I actually decide to scale more ES. And that's kind of what I want to talk about next. Is the chest piece is a 5-link currently with just a bunch of life and ES. I'd prefer to get this to a 6-link and craft life gained as ES. That way I can have a bigger ES pool, and I'm also going to want to get Chaos Res on it so I can just not take damage to my ES as much. And that way I can also take nodes like Safeguard, so I can essentially have a bigger EHP pool overall. I'm using Death Rush just for Onslaught. It's really nice for mapping. Fate Knuckle Amethyst Ring is a pretty lucky craft. I just threw a Alch on it and it hit this, which is really nice. I'm using Ascendancies right now, and I'm just anointing whatever I can for mana and mana regen. That's kind of one of the big issues with the build, is that there's mana problems, and during mana flask is okay, but you're gonna run out of mana when you're bossing or trying to kill something that's like a lot tankier than the build can handle. And so how I'm dealing with that is I'm just trying to scale enough mana regen to kind of offset that, or at least allow me to just like walk around a little bit with Vortex ticking and then occasionally throw a Creeping Frost and just dodge. It's going to be kind of slow for bossing, which is fine, but as far as like general mapping and map bosses go, it's completely fine. The build feels fine. As far as the helmet goes, I had a showcase video just yesterday, and I was using the goal. So actually the goal is really nice for mapping because you can sometimes get the healing shrine or just a acceleration shrine, and those will tend to make you just clear faster, and you don't have to worry about mana with the recovery shrine. And realistically, any of the other shrines are just nice defensive buffs, so it's really fun, unique to play with. That being said, I feel like just having more life and res is better. Belt with a bunch of life. This can eventually become a Stygian, and I can get onslaught or phasing on like as Abyss Jewel. Gloves, I would like to get Cold Dot Multi, but that's like a little bit further ahead. Ideally for now, ES life and a bunch of res is more important, as is any item in hardcore. And I also wanted ES based boots. Not much ES, but it's still stats that I need. Decent move speed. For flasks, I'm just going usual flasks. Enduring mana flask. Roomies is really helpful because we're taking glancing blows, so we actually get a lot of block from it. So I'm at 56%. When I use Roomies, I'm going to be attack block capped and close to spell block capped, which is really nice for defensives. And one of the other nodes I'm taking on the tree, which is a little bit weird, is Iron Will. It's actually a really big spell damage bonus because I'm using Ascendancies and I get a lot of strength from it. So that's pretty nice. And then finally, the Ascendancies that I've chosen so far without doing Uberlab yet is just going down Void Beacon and Frigid Wake so I can get quality of life without needing to be worried about being frozen. And it's a lot of damage. So when you're actually leveling this build and you're going around on the tree, I literally did not take a single damage node. Like you can see, I'm just starting to take these dot multis, and I'm going to come over here and take these. The only reason why this build was so nice to level with was because I just went around the tree and I took every single life node. I pathed over here, I pathed down here, you can path to the Constitution wheel. It's really nice because you'll end up having like 3k life by Act 6, which is plenty for clearing stuff comfortably. And the damage scales itself because when you start to ascend, you already get this minus cold res, and you get this more damage, and then finally you get a double curse, which allows you to use frostbite, which I'm using via a brand. And the actual setup of the build, you can kind of play it without having vortex bound to left click. I'm just lazy, so I'm using it that way.
When I'm ready and not before.
And yeah, I don't think it's really that important, though. If you want to be more conservative with your mana, you could probably put vortex on like an actual button and you only use it when you're near enemies. So one of the essences I'm really looking for is the one that gives mana regen. I believe it's this one right here. I'm going to be using that to craft items and hoping that it hits some sort of like decent stats, and that way I can kind of offset this regen problem. And so how I'm doing that with my Atlas is I'm first starting out in Valder's Rest. I want to get lights going so I can get some oils to actually properly anoint my gear. Preferably I could get Soul Siphon or just some other really high mana regen node. Mystic Bulwark is another one that is just going to be better than something like Deep Thoughts, which is what I have right now. And that shouldn't be difficult to get. It's just 3 teals. I could eventually buy it probably. But then I'm going to have 2 Watchstones, and this is going to be the bulk of my farming, like tier 11s, tier 12s. Is going to be in Haywark, where I'm just going to spam essences and hope that I get enough to start crafting with. And this is where I'll also get a bunch of influence rares, and it's likely where I'm also going to be bottlenecked, because the damage of this build is probably going to start falling off towards the T14s to 16s, just because I have to scale more defensives, like ES and ES on block and whatnot. I might have to adjust the tree. But yeah, overall there's still access to 2 jewels, maybe 3. But there's a lot of potential to just scale the damage of this build as well with those jewels, so I can just get whole dot multi and dot multi with life. But that's kind of min-maxing at that point, and I mean I need a lot of harvest to do that. Either way, that's the update video. I'll probably make another when I get better gear, unless this character rips, but so far has been very tanky and has been doing maps pretty quickly. And yeah, bye.